Australian Sports Show, Poppy, it has been an amazing week on the field, off the field, in footy. So we need to start with, let's talk about off the field. I mean, a massive week. Caroline Wilson, Eddie Mcguire, across Australia.
I don't understand. And you know what my first thoughts were when I heard the speculation that he'd threatened to drown Caroline? I thought, wow, that's rough. That's not appropriate. Eddie, you've done it again. What are you saying? I heard the audio and I thought, okay, that's not what I thought was said. Then I heard Tony Shaw, who works alongside Caroline Wilson on 3AW, say the exact same words as Eddie. That is, you should go down, Caro, and I'll hold you under, or words to that effect. And that was okay. So I'm actually a bit confused.
So why was it okay? Why was it okay? You saw the footage, you heard Caroline explain
Well, I heard Caroline say that he was only a metre opposite me. I knew it was a joke. There was no vitriolic in tone in his message, and I didn't actually sense that in Eddie either. Look, I sense there's probably obviously some tension, some friction
between the two, yeah.
So there's obviously some bad blood that's continued on. I thought it was a bit disappointing. What it does is make everyone a bit ill at ease as to what they can and can't say. You start second guess what is a natural, instinctive thing to say. At the end of the day, the person that receives the message, it's really about how they feel. So if they feel awkward, you just need to keep that in mind and probably don't entertain them in conversations through fear of that continuing. I think long term, that's sad for Caroline. I think long term, it's probably sad for the relationship of bringing women into the game, because women, not all women, feel the same way as Caroline does.
I'm yet to find someone other than Caroline that found it was meant
that way.
I've
got a couple, which surprises me.
Well, I've gone from different eras. So
yeah.
I've spoken to people that are 80 plus.
Yes.
I've gone into the 60 range.
Yes.
I've gone into the 40 and into the 30s, and even to the 20s.
Okay.
And asked women, women,
yes,
on how they viewed this.
You do hang around with a lot of women, don't you?
Yes. Not one of them have thought that it was anything more than a joke.
Okay.
So not one of them has been able to read anything else into it.
Yeah.
Other than, and I'm starting to think, and clearly there's some issues between the two of them, and we don't know that until we talk to them. Yeah. I'm interested in your point though, because it happened to me with the Magic Johnson thing. I made some comments that were completely taken out of context. In the first couple of days, it's really emotive and everybody jumps on it. Then when someone finally says, well, hang on a minute, what did he or she actually say?
Yes.
Oh, this is what he said. Oh, actually, that's pretty reasonable.
I think it's taken out of context. Yeah, I think it's taken out of context and consistently by the media themselves.
Absolutely.
That start to get this momentum going.
Well, it's a great story.
Caroline took no offence to it for over a week herself. She didn't take any phone calls from Eddie or return his phone calls prior to the event as it was starting to build, which was a bit disappointing, I would have thought as well, because she just expected a half-hearted apology or whatever her reasoning was, which in itself was a bit offensive. But I was surprised by the female journalists who I know who actually, I think, feel obliged to support Caroline, whether they actually personally do that.
I haven't asked any journalists.
So, look, anyway, it's one of those tricky things. To me, let's move on. I think it's a shame that, again, we've spent a week talking about a comment that we all agree was, or most of us agree was a throwaway line, rather than spending a week talking about women in football and the role they're going to more actively play. I would have thought that would have been a great opportunity, and no one has taken that. They've all just focused on a line, and that just... Look, it disappoints me about the media. I think most of the media should hang their head in shame and go, you know what, I actually probably shouldn't be in this position.
All right, I want to ask you this one quickly. Now, Caroline, of course, on Footy Classified.
Yep.
Caro's arrow. Now, she fires some fairly brutal things on that. Now, how would it be if all of a sudden one of the blokes that she's fired at jumped up and said, you know what, you said that about it, that's how I feel about what you're doing to me.
Yeah.
Would it get the same amount of publicity?
This has happened before, and Caro's made the point, well, you really need to toughen up a little bit. This is Caro. This is Caro herself saying this. Well, you need to toughen up. You need to take a reality check. You need to get with the program. You need... Now... Okay. Look, to me, I actually like the Caro's arrow segment. I think she's got every right as a journalist to look straight down the barrel of the camera and tell it as she sees it is. Yeah. But equally, when you set yourself that standard, you set the bar that high, when you're asked to jump it, make sure you're prepared to jump as well.
Yeah, I mean, the very clever play on that, of course, was she said she felt threatened. And when she fires her arrows, obviously that's not threatening. You go, really?
Yeah.
And we would never want that.
You know what? We're
I've
still
got 3
talking
daughters,
about
mate.
it now 2 weeks later.
Let's move on from it.
Can we?
The good news, we're talking about good news for clubs. The Crows, of course, are about to announce their $3 million a year sponsorship over 3 years with Toyota, who've been with them for 26 years.
Great relationship.
One of the great sponsorships in the AFL.
Well done to Toyota, well done to the Crows.
Well, that puts them in the top echelon of a major sponsor for a footy club. So well done to.
I think they're leading the way with members at the moment, 64,000+. The relationship with Toyota is good, and I think as a foundation, they've got a very strong foundation. So Toyota know exactly what they're getting, which is great.
I like Andrew Fagan. I reckon he's a ripping bloke, and normally the club is how the president is how they're perceived. They're very quietly just going about their business. You know, the Crows are winning nicely. Look like they're going to be in the top 4. They're announcing sponsorships, great members. But they're not out telling everyone what they're doing. They're just quietly going about it. I really like the way
matter of fact.
they're going about it. Jay Schultz looks like he's going to play next weekend against Richmond. He's been out for 12 weeks now, 31 years of age, 15 seasons in the AFL. Of course, he's had some problems with that back. Would you sign him again for next year?
You know what?
Or is it got to let him go?
You're getting close. Don't forget they've got John Butcher on their list as well. So we haven't seen him at all. I saw you roll your eyes, and you know his father's a mate of mine. So
I think he can play.
We'll talk about. Well, then why roll your eyes?
Because I don't think he's getting the direction he needs. I think he's a super
what Port
talent.
Adelaide aren't doing their.
I think they need to seek some different people because what they're doing is not working for him.
I'm just about ready to jump all over you. I'll tell you what. I'll hold you under.
And you can too. I think he's a real talent. But whatever they're doing, and not one size fits all. So I'm really big on this, saying, okay, what you're doing is clearly not working. Have you tried some other alternatives? I'm not suggesting that they haven't, but start to go outside the square because we saw the best of John when he first came in.
Yes.
So clearly he's got the tools to play at that level.
Yep.
But whatever's happening right now is not working for John.
No, you're right.
Find the answer.
Yeah.
If you're saying Schultz is going to go and John's a strong possibility and they've put faith in him for another year, then take a chance. Get some other people involved.
I think those 2 players we mentioned is a reflection of just where Port Adelaide is, full stop at the moment. But I think they really need to take stock right now and say, okay, really, is this squad really capable of taking us where we want to go? And if it's not, some hard decisions. You've been there, Smythe.
Oh, yeah.
You were there with a bloke called Mark Davis. When do you make the call? When do you say, you know what? She's tough. Port Adelaide a few years ago made the call with Mcguire and Stevens, won a premiership. Before that, Blight made the call. McDermott, McGuinness, Jarman, won a premiership.
It's a little bit.
You need to make a hard call.
You do. It's easier if you're in the top 4 to make that call because you're only talking about a couple of players, so it's a marginal thing. So when you do that, it's a little bit easier. I mean, Blighty's was different because he's coming from a bit far back. I suspect with Power right now, and Hinkley's starting to feel a little bit because the murmurs are starting to go, is Hinkley the right guy? You know, Roots wrote an article this week comparing him to Bomber Thompson and that period, very similar. So once those articles start appearing, you know people are starting to ask the question. So Ken's feeling some heat, no question. And
so you're very close to Ken, so he's obviously...
I don't have much to do with Ken at all. Good day, mate, how you going? I've not.
So you do talk to him?
I said hello to him twice, mate, honestly. But I'm interested in where you think Hinkley's at. Do you think he's a keeper or he's got to move on?
He's a keeper.
Okay.
I think you'd be jumping at shadows to move him on right now. I'd have a quick look at his assistant coaching team.
Yep.
I think there's probably room for some improvement in that as well.
So they made some changes last year in their coaching team and they've gone backwards.
Yes.
So they get rid of the wrong people?
Possibly.
I mean, there's injuries and other things that happen.
Sure, possibly. So. And I think probably Ross Lyon's going through that same process at the moment where he's sort of brought in some Hawthorn talent to help him get what Hawthorn has had. Yeah. I'm not sure what Hinkley has brought in, but, you know, it's been a bit Brisbane orientated with Hart and Voss. Whether they're the right people, I don't know. I would have thought Voss is key. I'm not sure about Hart and or others in the box.
All right, time for us to go, Poppy. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Look forward to your company next week, everyone. Bye for now. We're all happy campers here at UniSA.